Hi guys, my name is Kylie,
I'm Stephanie,
and this is KNS on the Air,
and tonight's episode is our first ever of True Crime Thursdays.
aka Unsolved Mysteries. This is going to
Sometimes
be sometimes solved because people might get confused. This is going to be something new that we start. This is going to be a completely separate series from our normal podcast episodes. So if you guys are new, make sure you guys stick around so you guys can see why you guys should subscribe.
Let's get into it.
For today's episode, which happens to be our very first episode of True Crime Thursday, which is a new series that we are going to be starting. It's going to be separate from our actual podcast episodes that we drop every week, although they will be an every Thursday thing. Today's case was recommended by a viewer of ours, and we will post a screenshot from where they recommended it. That way you guys can go follow them if you would like. So today's case is going to be on a 17-year-old boy who was murdered in Rio Grande City, Texas, back in July of 2017. It's a very gruesome case. I had some
Yeah.
time to actually research the case and try and get a better understanding of everything that happened because honestly, it was really confusing. I still don't really know who actually committed the murder, etc. I know you did some research on it, right?
Yeah. There was three co-defendants. The
Two.
case is no,
Well, technically three, yeah.
there were three co-defendants. One was convicted of first-degree murder, and a slew of other crimes.
Which
And
we'll get more into detail on the actual charges and who was convicted of what, etc.
and then the other two were just convicted of lesser crimes in exchange for testimony. But yeah, it's a really sad story, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's definitely bizarre. I do have my laptop in front of me just so that I can read from the articles. That way, I can give you guys the actual facts based on things that were actually published. I will also link the URLs towards these articles and the video that I'm going to also read information from. That way, you guys can have it for your own personal research. Basically, Chayse had went missing in July of 2017, which is when his mom reported him missing. Um, and then his remains were found 2 weeks later in August of 2017 on a ranch in Rio Grande. Chayse's mom claims that the night of his disappearance, he had said that he was going to be going to play basketball at a park. This is the park that he was lured to, and from there, he was brought to this ranch, the Roma Ranch, and he was murdered and dismembered. That's just basically the short story of it. So we'll go ahead and get into the details and everything. If you feel like you want to put your input on it, go ahead. Okay.
Okay. Now,
So
was it that he was lured to the basketball court? I thought it was he was lured from the basketball court. Like that's how they got him to the ranch, because he was killed at the ranch.
it might have been that way.
Yeah, that's
I
the
think that
article I found.
I think that's actually what it is. But like I said, we'll get into more details here shortly. So like I said, yeah. So he went missing in July of 2017, and he was found in August of 2017. So the whole case started in 2017. On October 29th, 2019, ValleyCentral.com, which is like their news, like a local news outlet or whatever, um, they posted an article about the whole situation. Chayse was 17 years old at the time of the murder, and the team that was accused of organizing his death and later dismembering his body was Jose Luis Garcia Jr. He was 19 years old at the time. At this time, he was facing capital murder and tampering with physical evidence charges in connection with Chayse's death. Chayse's body was found in pieces in a Roma ranch by Starr County authorities nearly 2 weeks after his mother reported him missing in August of 2017. Okay, no. So he went missing in July, but he wasn't reported missing until August. And then 2 weeks after she reported him being missing is when they found his remains. I don't know the exact time frame. I couldn't figure out exactly. I don't think it actually says the date that he went missing. It might be in another article. They might have gotten the month mixed up, because this article says August, but I think I read another article that says that he went missing in July and in August he was found.
Yeah.
So during the first set of all the witnesses being able to testify at the hearings, his mom testified, and she said that she recalled the night her son went missing. She testified that her son last told her he would be playing basketball at the park, but no data was used on his phone after 8 p.m. on the night in question.
Right.
The two men who claimed to have driven Chayse to the ranch that night also took the stand. They testified that they were paid $500 by one of their basketball friends to drive Olivarez, which is Chayse, to the ranch where Jose Luis Garcia was allegedly waiting to kill him. Here's where it gets. Snitches get stitches. I guarantee when he gets out, something's going to happen to these people, the ones that drove Chayse to the ranch. The two claim they never had an interaction with Olivarez, but decided to leave a tip at the sheriff's office after seeing a social media post of Chayse's disappearance.
Correct.
As of today, based on what I read, they still don't 100% know what Chayse's and Jose's relationship was, like what was going on between them. But during a hearing for Sebastian Torres, which is one of the other co-defendants in the case, an investigator testified Garcia told him he had a drug robbery dispute with Chayse. According to investigators, Sebastian Torres, who is the second co-defendant, said that he witnessed Garcia shoot Chayse 10 times. I guess during the hearing as well, one of the police officers that had previously had encounters with Jose, he took the stand, testified that he arrested Jose following a traffic stop for speeding in the past. But the defense attorney argued Garcia was unlawfully detained and arrested during that traffic stop after the officer's body camera shuts off, while allegedly asking Garcia if he was willing to be transported and interviewed at the sheriff's office.
Yeah, I read that article too.
So already he's having unlawful encounters with the police.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason why he's more you pay more attention to him, to Jose, is because allegedly at this time he had paid someone $10,000 to shoot Chayse to dismember his body and destroy the evidence. Crazy, right? And then basically what I got from the video, which I will also post the link to the video in the description, is when they had the hearing for Jose's charges to be reduced. During this hearing, his whole family, Chayse's whole family, they were wearing remembrance pins, just for for remembrance for Chayse, and they were all taking up an entire how when you're in a courtroom you've got one section of benches on the left, one section of benches on the right. They were taking up one entire section, his whole family. Okay, yeah. So he went missing in late July, so it could have been July 30th, and then she reported him missing August 3rd. So,
which would make sense because technically they have to be missing 48 hours before a report can even be made,
Yeah.
which that is something that I think is wrong.
No, it's
Um,
bizarre because 3 hours go by and they're probably already dead.
well, you know, you grew up watching with me like CSI, Law and Order SVU. The first 48 hours are the most important. Every homicide detective or missing persons detective will tell you after the first 48 hours, the likelihood of them finding that missing person alive, the percentage rate is slimmer and slimmer.
Yeah. And it's really sad.
It is. And then but yet you have to wait 48 hours to report someone missing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why you have to hire like a private investigator and stuff like
To
that.
start the searching before the cops will even do anything about it.
Yeah. This was posted 6 years ago. So it was It was November 8th of 2017. And at this time, the capital murder charge had been reduced to just murder. And you know how when we first started looking into it, those different articles we were reading made it seem like Chase's parents like really didn't care for him because they were
Mm-hmm.
okay with the decision. No, they were unsettled by like
Okay.
the change, the urge to want to reduce the charge. So the news outlet had spoken with the district attorney and the assistant district attorney, and they had told them that facts had surfaced that showed he didn't kill him. He had actually hired someone to kill him or paid someone off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they reduced it from capital murder to murder. And then they also saw large sums of money being moved amongst all three of the like co-defendants.
Correct.
After they, like wrapped up doing their investigation and everything, it was brought to their attention that he didn't hire someone to kill him. Jose had hired someone to lure him to the location in which he would allegedly kill Chase.
Right.
If they had enough evidence to charge him with hire for murder, then they would have, and he would have gotten a bigger sentence. But they didn't have enough evidence to charge him with hire for murder, which I don't know how is worse than just murder.
Because hire for murder, it would end up being, this was planned out. It was premeditated. It wasn't like spur of the moment. At least they can't argue that it was, spur of the moment. It was premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when when you hire somebody to lure someone away for you to murder them, it can go many different ways in regards to the charges, because you could get conspiracy to commit murder. Like it just depends on a lot of different factors and what evidence they actually have in order to charge them, with
Something
which charge.
specific. Yeah.
Like one crime can have 10 different types of charges,
Yeah. Throughout all of that, like they had enough evidence to be able to say that he did not financially benefit from this murder. So that's why they didn't hit him with the hire for murder or anything like that.
Okay.
But then, in that same hearing, Jose's mom took the stand, trying to play it as if she was in his mindset at the time, and that,
Mhm.
according to her, they were supposed to meet up to fight. They weren't.
Which makes it.
But that already corrupts the statement that he gave because he gave the details
Yeah.
in his confession. You know what I mean? But she was trying to get his bond, his $2 million bond, reduced to $700, or not, sorry, $2 million to $700,000 because of that. Which obviously the judge denied, and Chayse's family was content with that decision. Like, I think that's the only piece they got out of that hearing.
Yeah.
You know? So Philip was, yeah, I think Philip was 22 at the time. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. This article was posted by myrgv.com on September 9th of 2023. Philip was accused of being paid $10,000 by Jose Garcia to lure Chayse to the ranch where he was then shot and killed and dismembered and burned. Let's set that for the record.
Yeah.
But he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 35 years in state prison. However, the only thing that I'm confused on is that his conviction only happened based on a plea agreement, which this plea agreement Chayse's family did approve on. He wasn't 22 when it happened. He was 22 in 2023, so 2017. He was 16 at the time.
Yeah, they were all like teenagers.
Yeah, Chayse was 19, or Chayse was
It was
17,
17.
Jose was 19, Philip was 16, and Sebastian was 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, this basically just says that he played a significant role in Chayse's gruesome death on July 30th, 2017. So yeah, he died in July 30th.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is what confuses me, okay? Because if you go to the article for Sebastian Torres, which is also posted by the same thing, which really you can't find a lot about this, which is why I'm confused. It's a small case, which is why I'm also really glad that we're doing it. Sebastian entered in a plea deal with the state, but it's subject to the judge's approval. As of April 25th, they weren't able to decide on the decision. He was charged also with capital murder and tampering with physical evidence for the death of Chayse. But in exchange for his plea of guilty for tampering with physical evidence and not being guilty of murder, Torres was going to be sentenced to 3 years of probation, receive a $315 fine to cover the court costs, and he has to testify against both Philip and Jose.
Correct.
But when he was confessing to the police during his investigation, he, from what I was reading, basically said that, he killed him. But then it kind of contradicts itself by saying, like, I don't know. Like, it made it very clear that Jose didn't kill him. He just paid someone to bring him there. But then it says that, like, it's really confusing. So there's really, like, no, like, official answer as to, like, who actually killed him and dismembered him. But anyways,
Well,
yeah, so.
what they could have been doing. So, one way to trip up like the police or just random other things in life, if they know one person is the person, only one person pulled a trigger
Mm-hmm.
and actually committed the killing.
Mm-hmm.
If, one of them says, I'm the one that did it, the other one says, I'm the one that did it, and then the third one says, I'm the one that did it. Well, three people can't pull the trigger on a gun. I mean, you can technically,
You
but
have multiple guns, but it was only one weapon.
right.
And it was only one gunshot.
I thought the one article said 10 gunshots.
Was it 10?
That's what you had said.
I
Earlier
think
in the video, you had said 10.
it might be 10. So So yeah, he's getting off easy. He's 3 years of probation and a $315 fine. Make that make sense.
It doesn't, because you can commit
But then,
nonviolent crimes and get a larger sentence, prison time,
yeah,
probation.
I know. It makes no sense.
So,
So then the judge, Judge Valdez, he was asking him, he said, I understand there's going to be a recommendation for the court's consideration, but in regards to the actual plea, you're telling me that you're pleading guilty because you are guilty and not because of this recommendation. Is that correct? Torres agreed. So he pled guilty to just being guilty in general, according
right,
to his statement.
right.
So if so at this time the plea hadn't been accepted, but if Judge Valdez accepted the plea, the capital murder charge, and a separate indictment also charging him with tampering with physical evidence, namely a human corpse, and this is in quotes, those charges will be dismissed.
I get that sometimes they need that testimony from the accessories, to be able to put at least one person fully, they got to put blame on someone,
Right.
you know. And if they don't have a 100% open shut case, they're going to need those testimonies to get that conviction, you know. But for something like this, I mean, murder in itself is bad,
Yeah.
but going and letting someone get just probation for being a part of this whole story, like, it doesn't make sense.
No.
It doesn't make sense. Like, they had to have had enough evidence to not need to completely, let the others off the hook.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say he must have, either it was because he gave as much detail as he did, or because he really didn't do as much as some articles make it seem. Um, he was the one with the less of a sentence,
Right.
less of a punishment, because Philip Severa was sentenced to 35 years, and that was official.
Yes.
Shortly after he was convicted and sentenced to 35 years, Sebastian Torres, in September of 2023, he was 22. He did end up pleading guilty and receiving 3 years of probation and a $350 fine. And then Jose was convicted of tampering with physical evidence and sentenced to 8 years of prison.
I mean, it's better than nothing. It's better than just probation.
Yeah, but it's weird because why was Philip convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 35 years if he didn't shoot him? He helped with
Well,
the, getting rid of his body, but he didn't shoot him. But he was sentenced to first-degree murder and, or he was convicted of
so
first-degree murder and sentenced to 35 years.
it has to be because of the testimony from the other two co-defendants.
Because of the fact that Sebastian testified against them. And I'm sure that I'm sure that Jose also testified against him.
But see, you don't have to be the one to pull a trigger to be charged with the murder.
I know, but it's just odd, like he's the one that actually killed him. They all played a role in the whole thing. Jose lured him, or Jose paid to have him lured there, and Sebastian shot him, or Jose shot him. It doesn't really say who shot them. But Sebastian and Philip both played a role in getting rid of him.
Right.
And Sebastian's only getting 3 years of probation.
Well, that's the whole tampering with physical evidence.
It's crazy. But it's because there's not enough evidence.
Yeah, I'm sure they had a ton of evidence, but I'm sure a lot of it was circumstantial,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Yeah,
hard.
and that's what I did read, that a lot of evidence that they did have, it wasn't able to be presented.
So, and there could
And
have been a lot of
and
it was
when
hearsay.
when Jose was being like, giving his confession, he they asked the jury to disregard his, testimony, like his confession, because of the fact that they felt he was being unlawfully detained and deceived to make him say what he was saying.
Right.
You know, so
It's just a very messy case. And
I'm really glad that our viewer recommended this case for us as our first one.
yeah, because it's not just an like open shut case. Like I initially, when I was doing my research on it, was like, oh, it's an open shut case.
No, it's a
They've got their
mystery.
people arrested and convicted, and okay. But yeah, it definitely is very mysterious. There could be a lot more behind it. Politics politics get involved sometimes. It's not supposed to, but there's a dark side to the justice system as well. You
Right.
know, just like in every department, in every job, there's always the corrupt ones.
Yeah.
And being that from research I did, there's reason to believe that um, Chase's family or father and
That's another thing I wanted to touch on. Jose's dad he's serving 27 years in federal prison on drug charges. Apparently, his father and Chase's father had feud.
yeah, it was
He
like a
was
huge
thinking,
family feud
yeah.
going from what I was able to find. So when you've got that large of a drug organization going on,
Mm-hmm.
and you have two drug lords feuding, the kids a lot of times are brought into that lifestyle, and a lot of times it does affect the kids. So there's that. It could be more than just a supposed robbery. That was why the one guy wanted him dead or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy. Like there's the politics behind it though, because when you have that type of lifestyle at that level, like I was saying, there's going to be cops on their payroll. There's going to be lawyers on their payroll. I mean, you don't know how far up the quote unquote food chain it goes, so that might be one of the reasons why this case is so mysterious and not just a complete open shut case.
Yeah. I mean, it's
You know,
open shut, but you're still questioning things.
yeah, and I hope that Chase's family has the answers that they need,
Mm-hmm.
um, which they might. They might know more about things than the public knows. We can assume all kinds of things, but this is definitely an interesting case, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's definitely a sad one too.
Yeah.
Because
It's a sad case.
even if it is a drug family on drug family, feud gone wrong. Even if that's the case, like he was a child.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, they were all kids, though.
nobody deserves to be murdered anyway, but especially a child, and to think that I can't imagine. I
Yeah.
can't imagine it. Like it definitely hit on my heartstrings and my mom's strings, and you know,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
I couldn't either. But I do think that's going to wrap up this episode.
If you guys have any knowledge of this case, if we missed something, which I'm sure we probably did. So if anyone has actual like information that we missed, please share, because I mean, I would just love to know more. I'd like to
Yeah.
have like be at peace with knowing more details on it. If you guys have a case that you want us to talk about, um, feel free to leave it in the comments. You know, we're making a list and we're
Check
gonna
it
get
twice.
yeah, checking it twice. Definitely none
Um,
of them are on the nice list. That's for sure.
yeah, definitely on the naughty list for sure, times 100. People might get confused by the title because it says Unsolved Mysteries. It's just the name. These are not just going to be unsolved mysteries. They're going to be solved, unsolved, just random mysteries that we read about or you guys recommend, but primarily true crime. It's supposed to be true crime, so no mythical stuff. But yeah, I think that wraps up today's episode. We really hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you guys did, then definitely make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. That way you guys can stay tuned for more of our creativity. Make sure you guys follow us on our social media, which will be linked in the description below. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.